أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Verily we have granted you, O Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Al Kawthar, which is a river in paradise. So turn to your Lord and sacrifice. Verily, he who hateth thee, he will be cut off. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to another episode of Islam for Europeans. I'm your host, Robert. Please like and subscribe to the channel. My apologies for not making a video in quite some time. But I wanted to talk about, um, in general, Quran 101 classes, classes for new Muslims in general, how Islamic organizations and masjids, um, how they really have a lack of these programs altogether, these classes altogether. Usually, they'll get, the convert who's um, raring to go and ready to, become like this kind of Islamic superstar. Um, and that's kind of who they're used to. So a lot of these converts end up, studying Islam on their own, or maybe they'll, get a sheikh and work one-on-one with them. But that doesn't really help out the general masses, right? And I guess it's kind of a chicken or the egg problem because, in 2023, we may say we may see a lot of people take their shahada, but they don't really get involved with like Islamic um, stuff at the masjid per se, and even less so when it comes to like Islamic classes. I think a lot of I guess teaching lessons, ta'aleem, classes that teach the Quran that exist within mosques in the West today are more catered towards the youth and people who already have a base knowledge of both Islam and Arabic, right? So, we've been trying to formulate, this Quran 101 class in my local community. And you're talking to someone, myself, I converted to Islam in 2003. And, um, you know, for me, I was kind of like an autodidact. Like I kind of learned these things on my own. I had, some help with some Islamic teachers, but for the most part, it was kind of sort of a self journey, learning how to read the Quran. But it was still an enormous challenge. And, I hear some people saying, you hear some uncles in the masjid, and they're very well meaning, and they'll say, why have a Quran one-on-one class, just for converts? You're not going to get high attendance, and there's many kids, want to learn the Quran anyway. Why not just have one class with everybody, converts, kids, and everything? And there's several issues with that. I mean, we're going to get into a little bit later, but just think about the challenges of someone learning not just a holy book, but a holy book in another language and reciting that book and have it to be letter for letter correct. And this, and already people are dealing with enough challenges as converts already. So, like just think about all the different challenges of someone learning a totally new language. Just that in and of itself, that's quite a challenge right there. So, before you want to accomplish a goal, you always want to know what challenges are in front of you. That way you can plan ahead, and then inshallah overcome those challenges. So, for starters, I mean, um, Arabic has a different alphabet, right? So the symbols are completely different. It's not like someone going from English to learning French or Spanish or Italian, where it's not only the same letter structure, but it's also, basically the same sound. I mean, S in English sounds pretty much the same as S in French and Spanish and Italian, right? Whereas in Arabic, these symbols are completely new. It's almost like kind of having to learn Morse code. Um, and secondly, Arabic reads from right to left, whereas English reads from left to right. Arabic also, the letters in Arabic can have a different construction, but not always, based on where the letter is in the word. If it's by itself, if it's the final, i.e., at the end, medial, which is in the middle of the word, or initial. So that is something that, English speakers are not used to. I mean, letters in English are going to look exactly the same no matter where you put them in a sentence, right? Also, Arabic is a consonantal language. So what I mean by that is that only the consonants are normally presented, and you have to know the structure of Arabic and the rules of Arabic to know which vowel sounds go in between the consonants. Now, when it comes to the Quran in present day, we have critical marks, harakat, which indicate if it's an ah sound or an e sound or an u sound, right? So um, that's totally different from English, where like all the letters, vowels, and consonants are presented together in a straight line. So that's different. So it's like you're almost going up and down all the time. So that presents considerable challenges. Also, like if you're an English speaker and say, for example, you're learning Italian, there are going to be cognates. So cognates are words that are the same or similar in two languages that mean pretty much the same thing, right? So, um, like pizza in Italian is the same thing in English. But in Arabic, there's very, very, very few cognates, if any, between Arabic and English. So in addition to learning, the holy book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and learning a new language, on top of that, you're learning a whole new vocabulary, right? So this presents enormous challenges to people who have just converted to Islam. So, to say that, we can just simply plop, these new Muslims into a Quran class that already has, children existing, even if the children are learning from square one themselves. I mean, many of these kids, even if they grew up in a household that doesn't speak Arabic, they at least know some of the Islamic phrases, even if their family's not practicing, right? Also, when you take a look at psychology, I mean, children, like are better at absorbing languages compared to adults, right? So the human brain is very malleable. Even if a child does not know only knows one language, it's much easier for them to become bilingual as opposed to someone who doesn't an adult who's learning a new language. Um, so they're going to be a lot quicker in picking up not just the Quran but Arabic itself. Whereas for a lot of these people who convert to Islam, they're going to be at least 14, 15, 16 years old and up. So that malleability within the brain is not going to be there. So just some of the reasons why converts should have their own Quran 101 classes. And also and I knew a lot of Islamic leadership, I think they understand to a degree that converts need to take things slowly, that they need to really, yes, not mince words here, dumb it down for people learning not just Quran but also Islam in general. It's a lot to absorb. A lot of these converts are already working full-time jobs. That's another difference. I mean, like a lot of these kids, they get home from school, they're doing nothing, so they got a lot of time to study Quran, whereas like a lot of these adults don't have a lot of time to do that. So that's it's going to be that's going to be another challenge in and of itself. um, but at the same time, as adults we can draw from experiences, use different mnemonic devices that kids, whether first gen or second gen Muslim kids, may not be aware of. And I think a collaborative environment where you have converts actually teaching the Quran 101 class, they understand how much you need to dumb it down, but also people who went through that experience themselves, right? So I think what we're trying to do is working. We have someone who's a convert of many years who studied the Quran for a while, but is not perfect, but learned the Quran and made their own transliteration. And then you also have a hafiz with them. So those two people work in tandem to make sure that the convert is not making any mistakes. So a collaborative environment really can help out a lot of these converts who are just just trying to learn Al-Fatiha and two other short surahs. And that is, if you can have a Quran 101 class that can accomplish those goals, I mean that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself, right? But yeah, I mean, dumbing it down is definitely really important. I think we don't realize how much we need to dumb it down until we actually get feedback from these, people who are learning Quran for the first time. I mean, also, like I said, even if you have a Quran 101 class, it's going to be difficult to get students to come in or converts to come in because a lot of people just like to learn on their own. They like to learn independently. Maybe they like to learn one-on-one instead of in a class environment. It could be intimidating, because even if you're in an environment with your peers, it takes a lot to come out and learn a totally new language and learn you know uh, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where your faith is already fragile for the time being, and you don't want to feel like a failure. But having said that, I mean, it's important, to have these classes because I think it builds a lot of trust, it builds a lot of community. It helps, we're working together and trying to improve, our ability to read, Allah's holy book. Right. So, like I think also when it comes to transliterations, so a transliteration is when you have how to say the words in Arabic with English letters, right? So, for example, nas, right? So nas in Arabic is spelled noon, aleph, sin, right? So in the transliteration, it would be spelled Naas because you have the aleph in there, so it's like an extra long vowel sound. Now, some letters in Arabic don't have an English equivalent, like dod and ayn. So you can't use a regular Latin letter. You're gonna have to put like for ayn, I would put the at symbol because it's still an at sound, but it's different, right? Same thing with sod. There's difference between seen and sod. They're both S sounds, but seen is how you say S in English, whereas sod is different. It's a deeper S sound, right? So, you put an S with a dot or a line under it. So that way, when the students are reading the transliteration, they can differentiate between the two. Also, shadda, like when it comes to transliteration, most transliterations will do this. If there's a shadda is a double letter, so it's basically that W symbol that you'll see above an Arabic letter in the Quran. That basically means that it's two letters, right? So, like da, ba, in right, so it's almost like you're putting emphasis on both syllables, and most transliterations will put two of the same letters. So for inna, they'll put INNAA, right? So I mean, you always have to make sure you have a good transliteration. And some people they don't even learn about transliteration. I mean, there's different types of learners. There's kinesthetic learners. They learn by repeating and doing. This is how people. These kind of learners will learn by I guess kind of like the feeling, right? And then you have auditory learners, so they'll learn by hearing the Quran over and over and over again until it's in their head. And then you have visual learners, so they learn visually by looking at the page. So like everyone's going to come in with like their different style of learning. So I mean that is it's a journey, and it's important to when you start these Quran 101 classes, or even teach a new convert Islam. I mean Quran, from the beginning on a one-on-one format. It's important to let them know of like the great reward in struggling to read the Quran, right? Like I think I have one hadith here. Our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Verily, the one who recites the Quran beautifully, smoothly, and precisely, he will be in the company of the noble and obedient angels. And as for the one who recites with difficulty, stammering, or stumbling through its verses, then he will have twice that reward." From Sahih al-Bukhari. So, that just shows right there that, you get a great reward for reading the Quran in a beautiful, melodic, perfect voice. But for those who are struggling to read it, it's an even greater reward. So we always want to keep that in mind. Also, reading even one letter of the Quran is equal to 10 good deeds, right? So, and even reading Alif Lam Mim, that counts as 3 letters, right? So, is it letters or words? I'm not 100% sure. Let me just make sure I don't want to get that incorrect. Yeah, it is a letter. So, yeah, and I guess this whole topic, you can extrapolate this to Islam 101 courses. Like you have some people who want to jump right in and become Islamic superstars, and these are the rare converts that Islamic leadership will see, because they've sort of jumped right in and adapted so seamlessly, and they start to think that all converts are going to be able to become like, like these graduate level, highly experienced, highly educated Muslims. And they're going to start to think that all converts are going to ever achieve this level, and that's definitely not true. I mean, like, many converts just hang on by a thread, and you can't expect them to learn like this level of like Islamic knowledge. And like when it comes to the converts who actually make hijrah, those are the ones who are usually highly successful and highly educated. So a lot of the, I guess, Islamic leadership, even in the Muslim world, sees converts as like these like kind of Islamic superstars. And this goes back to the whole, I guess, overvaluation of converts, which is really puts them up on a pedestal. But it's inevitably gonna, it's not a sustainable model, because even those who are really highly educated, become like these superstars, are still gonna have all these other challenges that they're going to be facing. So I guess to sum up, like, it's important, I think, for all masjids to have Islamic courses for converts, both Quran 101 or Arabic 101, and Islam 101. But they need to take things very slowly, and you can't teach too much. You want to keep it short to like an hour, hour and a half tops. Take lots of breaks. Um, and like the optimal solution is that the converts are running these classes themselves, with the help of maybe someone who's like a hafiz already. So that way they can cater to keep their ear on the ground to how the students are responding to the classes. Yeah, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us of our sins, and accept the best from our very best from our good deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the guidance and knowledge to be able to teach his holy book to Muslims all over the world. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us perfect our religion. So that's my time for the day. I'm your host, Robert, from Islam for Europeans. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And that's my time for the day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.